So hi Daniel.
Hello Dominique.
Can you tell us a little bit about Lydia de Rosier?
Sure. So the first thing I have to say selfishly that I really do love her. I think she's a wonderful character, and she's also exotic to me and quite foreign from my own experience. So it's fun to get to know a character who's so different. She's coming from France and arriving in a very mysterious and wonderful way to this little town of Roberval in a hot air balloon, and it's almost difficult to imagine how much of a shock that might have caused.
Yeah,
in
this time.
Yeah, in 1912. Almost she'd be like a whole other species of person arriving, and not only in an unusual way, but with unusual clothing and an unusual sophistication of manners, a strange casualness about the truth. And she's very bold in her approach to lying to people and manipulating people, and so there's a sort of artfulness about her manipulations, but also I think there's warmth in her as well, and she falls in love quite genuinely with this young man, Simon, whom she encounters there, and through that love becomes quite a catalyst for the drama that unfolds there so beautifully and so tragically also. One gets the impression that her life in France was perhaps a complicated one, full of amorous adventures and full of adventures of all kinds in the, maybe aristocratic houses, and yes, you'd maybe be called, I'm not sure if you call a woman a gadfly, but she would be perhaps a gadfly of a person. Flighty and passionate and unpredictable maybe. Could you please tell me a little bit about la Comtesse Marie-Laure de Tilly?
Yes. Marie-Laure, she's from France too. Both of the women in the play are from France. But she moved to Canada, Quebec provinces in Roberval, north of Quebec provinces, at the beginning of the 20th century. And she's there since 5 years. And she moved there with her husband, but pretexting some business to do, her husband just leave her there to go back in France. And he said to her, I'm gonna come back soon, blah, blah. But he never come back. So she's alone there with a son, Valier, le Comte Valier. And she's poor, she have nothing, she never worked in her life. She was a real countess in France. She was a noble, and she had a great life there. So she's not equipped and used to a life in the countryside. In Roberval at this time it was wood and water, so she don't know what to do. And to survive there, to be able to continue to live there, she just start to play. She act like if she has her castle, her big house, her servant, her furniture. She fake everything, and she make it real in her head. And she play with it, and even her son start to play with her. He understand that she need that to survive, so they play this game together. So everyone around thinks she's crazy, but she's not crazy at all. She just try to survive so much, and with the hope of the comeback of her husband. She always hope for it. There's a very nice aria where she tell that she speak about that all the aria. She wait for the return of her husband so much, and I think that's the thing that keep her alive, the hope. She still have hope, I think. I don't know why really, because it's pretty obvious after 5 years that your husband will never come back. But she still had hope.
Yeah.
So she survived for that, and maybe for her son too, because she's in love with her son. Yeah. So it's a pretty amazing character.
Yeah.
And can you talk a bit about your voice type, countertenor?
Sure.
Because it's very particular in opera, the countertenor voice.
Yeah. And I'm glad there's more. So I always think of the countertenor voice as being most at home in the 20th and 21st century, even though it's been so much associated with the early music revival. But it's only really in the 20th century and 21st century that countertenors have music written for them.
Yeah, they did a comeback in the music. Yeah.
And whereas in the early music repertoire, we're usually stealing from other people. And they're very generous. They're not, mezzo-sopranos and trebles and the castrati. They're all very patient. They're all very happy, they seem to be anyway, to have countertenors steal all their music. But I am very excited by works like Les Fluettes, where a composer has sought to create new repertoire for this voice type. For me, I was kind of always singing countertenor after my voice changed. I pretended to be a tenor in a choir for about a year, I think.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure out why I sounded different from the other tenors. Much lighter, a different sound quality. And I asked my father, who was he's a organist and choir director, and he had been a countertenor when he was younger.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he said, well, you're just singing falsetto, so go up to the altos or go down to the basses. And so there was more need for altos at the time, and it felt nicer to sing alto. So that's what I did. And I think I encounter a lot more countertenors now, of my age and also younger. I encounter them in my teaching, and I'm amazed by how wonderful it is to have this extra level of choice in the whole Fach question, the whole voice type question. Because I think there are a lot of young men who feel comfortable singing still in that higher part of their voice, which some of them cultivated it as voice sopranos, and in a way you can continue a little bit of that work, keep building on that work after your voice changes. So most men can sing countertenor. Not all choose to develop the voice in that way.
Yeah.
But maybe you have. Do you?
I have
falsetto.
Falsetto. Yeah. I never work a lot with it, but I have one. Yeah.
It's neat to have a long voice that you can play around with.
Yeah.
I'm a bit the opposite. I never from you. I mean, I always was singing countertenor, and then only more recently discovered and worked a little bit on the baritone.
The baritone part,
voice, which is quite a different experience, but it's somehow built in as well. Yeah. So Dominique, would you maybe you could talk a little bit about what it's like to take on a female role in this work?
Soprano are jealous right now. But I'm new to this production. You have sang this role before in Montreal and Victoria, but I will sing the countess for the first time here in Edmonton. So based on an experience I had on another opera before, where I was a travesti at so I was a female too, on a high heel, 4-inch.
Yeah.
It was crazy. The first week I just can't walk with it. But it's amazing to play a female for me, because it can't be more far away from me. So you can do a lot of things. You're really in a theater thing, so you can play for real. And you discover some different part of you and of your ability on stage. When you get used to it, and when you start to to get used, and because at the beginning there's something like you can be a bit shy to play it, like okay, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with the contest here.
Oh yeah.
And you, how do you find the work?
I love it. Similarly to what you described, I find that it frees me up to try new things. At first I was quite shy, also the first time in Montreal when I was first experimenting, making friends with that role. It took me, I'd have to work quite hard to sort of break out of my shell, even though that wasn't the first time I'd done a cross-dressing role. I did a little bit, some opera excerpts from 18th century Roman opera. So it was a little bit more stylized gesture. I didn't have 4-inch heels, but I had a fan, like, so I remember that was a challenge to figure out how to play with that. But still, there can be that little shyness to get over, and then once you sort of climb over that, then the possibilities seem endless almost.
Yeah.
For fun also, because it's very playful somehow. Yeah.
And with the costume too, it helps a lot. I'm just out of the fitting here, and the costumes are amazing, and it helps you to feel like when you have a big dress like that, you can't feel like a man. You instantly go to okay, I'm a woman. Okay, that's nice.
And even some of the practical things that we don't, since we're wearing trousers, we usually don't have to worry about having all this train behind us. It's different to sit. It's different to stand up again. It's hard sometimes when people are standing.
We can understand the soprano now.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you talk a bit about the music of Les Feluettes, and why do you think people gonna love this music?
Well, I think it's a very beautiful score.
I agree.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It has a lot of sonic impact. Like there's a big palette of color there, which Kevin has developed a very beautiful orchestration. So there's a beauty, and there's this kind of colorful impact there that I think people will appreciate. But there's another wonderful thing that's touching me more and more each time I experience that music, and that's that I find it the music situates you so beautifully and so clearly in the time of the piece, and that's important in this piece since it's a play within a play within a play, and each of those levels, dramatic levels, has a kind of musical language that orients, I think, the audience in that moment. And then, of course, each of the characters has his or her own. I'm not sure if you'd say they're exactly leitmotifs, but it's that kind of thing. Each character has its own colors, maybe, and that brings out this the elements. If I'm an airy element arriving in my montgolfière, and Simon is a fiery element, and you're an earthy element, and Valier is a watery element. There's something. Yeah. There's something of those elements in the music, just as it is in the characters, I find.
Yeah. And for me, what I like too, it's very melodic.
Yeah.
For modern music, it's not always the case, and I'm sure that Kevin March loved melody, because there's a lot of melody in this work. You can actually have a melody in your head at the end of this opera, which is very rare in contemporary music, as I know. So I love it because it's modern, it's atmospheric music, it's kind of impressionist sometimes, but it's melodic, and it's you have beautiful line to sing, you have tough line to sing too, but it's a challenge as a singer, and I really love the way he works on the melody and on the line for the voice.